Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, 3.0 is roll call school board members. Everybody's present. 4.0, let's move directly into communications and reports. And why don't we start with 4.1, the enrollment report, Superintendent Colness.
I'll just start off. It won't take too long. The final numbers for the year, you can see that the K through 12 enrollment, we did lose one student in that time frame. So we finished the year with 1,814 students. Now that's the lowest enrollment we've had since the 14-15 school year. So definitely does have an impact on things financially. So that's something to consider in the future. Hopefully we'll see an increase, or you'll see an increase with that number in the future. I just talked to Chad. We've been monitoring the kindergarten numbers and it looks like we're right around that 135 and then plus the 20 that we usually put in there for the super pre-K. So hopefully we're in that 155 to 160 range in the kindergarten for next year. So that is all I have regarding the enrollment report.
4.2, the finance report. Amanda, the floor is yours.
All right. So I have the board report for you for May. The general fund revenues are down a little bit. And most of that is due to the state revenues. So our general education aid, which is based off of our enrollment accounts. So as our enrollment goes down, our funding goes down a little bit as well. The other biggest part is the federal revenues are down a little bit, and that's basically COVID money. So as we run out of buckets of COVID money, and that money also, I have to draw it down as we expend it. So there is some expenses that we have not drawn down on as I draw down money every month or two. So timing issue in there as well. But our COVID funds are less than they were in the prior year. The expenses is where I'm going to spend most of my time here. So for the past many months, we've been talking about how our expenses are higher over the prior year, but if you look on this report, they're actually lower. So it's a timing issue. So our teachers are paid over 24 pay periods, but they have an option to be paid out a payoff check. So that payoff check happens on June 13th, but last year the payroll was created May 31st. So our payoff numbers are in last year's numbers, but they're not in this year's numbers. However, because it's tomorrow, I already know them. So if the same thing happened, our expenses would be instead of 21 million, it'd be 22,739,000. So it'd be up about 1.2 billion over the prior year. So that's just a timing issue of when that happens and when the payroll is created in the system, if that makes sense. It's kind of an awkward situation. But that was all I was going to note on there, because that's the biggest change. I did go and look at the percentages too on the payroll side, if they held constant, and our percentages would be consistent in the three different buckets there. On the second page, I didn't have very many notes. I did note that our community ed revenue is up quite a bit over the prior year, which is great to see. And a lot of that's the Afterwave program as that grows. I did look at the expense side of that too, and the expenses are growing, which makes sense as the program gets bigger, but it's not growing at quite the rate that the revenues are. So it's great to see in that program. And that is all I had on the budget to actual information. On the treasurer's report, you'll notice our cash is down over the prior year by about 2 million, which is consistent with our expenditures being up over the prior years. Our cash from the beginning of the month to the end of the month is up quite a bit, and that is very typical for May and June, or May as we go into our summer months of payoffs. And then we get a little bit less funding during the summer of different events. The state still funds us, but we don't have as many other sources of revenue coming in. Any questions?
Questions, board members? All right. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. Okay, let's move directly into 4.3 administration department head reports. We'll start with superintendent's report. Go ahead, Mike.
I will start off. I was hoping Jan would be here tonight. We did visit last Friday, but Jan Yanish, she had perfect attendance as a bus driver this year, never missed an AM route or a PM route, never took a personal day. and which is very unusual for somebody to never miss a bus route. So we want to recognize her. Hopefully she can come to maybe another meeting here in the future. But we want to make sure we put stuff out on social media, but it's really great when we have somebody that's that dedicated as far as like never missing a day. And considering how bus driving is, there are some real challenges. So want to make, our hats go off to Jan and congratulate her on that, because that was a big deal and she's very proud of that and she should be. So that's awesome. Legislatively, I did share some information with you. I would encourage you to watch the video if you haven't already from MSBA. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. There's also about a 67-page document with changes that was shared with you. It hasn't been condensed like they said they would for us. That's still coming, but be prepared for some big time policy changes as well. Terry Morrill, who works on all of the policies for MSBA, gave us he thought it would probably be sometime in mid-June. They would have updated model policies based on the changes that happened this spring. I think there are some things that are immediate in your experiences them already. We were really worried about unemployment. That was something, especially with staffing for summer school. We've kind of been working through that. We do have quite a few unemployment applications that have come through the system. So right now, the state has dedicated $135 million for unemployment. Personally, I don't know if that's going to last over a year, considering all of the businesses and school districts that will be paying out unemployment. We will be getting basically a bill on that. We don't know exactly when the timing is, but we will have to pay the unemployment, but we will be able to submit for reimbursement on that. And we're thinking sometime at the end of the calendar year, or we have not been told. Yeah. But we do know that we definitely have staff members who are collecting unemployment this summer, and we're going to have to make sure that we submit for reimbursement on that. However, the future, they have not dedicated any funds beyond the 135 million. So as you start thinking about negotiations and down the road 1 or 2 years, you have to take that into consideration until they give us some clarity on that. All we know right now is that there's $135 million in that unemployment fund. And I really feel that that's going to be used up pretty quickly. Juneteenth is another one legislatively that kind of threw a curveball at districts, as far as the original bill had August 1st as the date that it would become effective. However, when the bill passed, it was immediate. So basically the end of May. And so now districts are going to have to decide. Number one, we've been given direction by MDE and MSBA that this is like a tier 1 holiday, considered to be similar to the 4th of July. We cannot have school, we can't have summer school. We should have district offices closed, but they didn't really tell us whether we needed to pay employees or not pay employees. And so it's a short window of time to make decisions on that. And there are districts that are paying all their employees for that day, and we can't have any activities in the buildings. So I think it would be unfair too. For example, I'll use Carla, since Carla's such a great person coming to work every day. But if I had to tell Carla, hey, by the way, Carla, you can't work on Monday, June 19th, but you have to take a vacation day in order to get paid. And she says, well, Mr. Colas, I don't have any vacation days left. Oh, you have to take a dock and pay. That's really a tough one to have to handle here. I wish they would have given us some more time, but it is what it is. We aren't in the legislature. But there are a lot of curriculum changes that are going to have to take place immediately or in the next 1 to 2 years. And all of the information is also shared with all of our administrative team, but there is a lot to process. And I do not have all of the answers. I think that it's going to take a real team effort. And the big thing I'm going to try to do is just make sure any information I get goes out to you, as well as to all of our administrative teams, and also to the new interim superintendent of schools. So, and I'll do my best to help out wherever I can. But it's just a lot to process, and I could go on for several hours talking about it, but I think it would be better for everybody to look through that information.
So just to pause on your recap, the Juneteenth, at least from my perception, we need to take action on that as a board, as a board tonight. So we'll talk more. I'm going to propose adding that to the agenda. So go ahead, Mike.
Appreciate that. End of the school year, the 22-23 school year, there were a lot of great things that happened. Mother Nature wasn't as cooperative as we wanted her to be, especially during the winter months. However, I think that everybody stepped up to the plate and did the best they could. It was nice to be able to have some flexibility in the way that we could make up those days. I know that like Fergus Falls was still in school last week, which wasn't real popular because they weren't able to make up some of those days. It was good, but I'd like to thank all of the students and the families and staff members for everything they've done to make it a successful year. And it's officially, in the record books right now. And then the last thing I was going to talk about was Juneteenth, and I already kind of did. I guess if you want a recommendation, it would be to, and I listed it in my board notes here, that number one, all district offices and facilities will be closed that day. I mean, we don't have really a choice as far as the way that goes. All district meetings, programs, activities scheduled on June 19th would be canceled. And due to the nature of being short notice, staff who are normally scheduled to work on June 19th or have already been contracted to work on June 19th will receive this day off without impact to their leave or contract for this year only. I think you need to be very specific that this is not precedent setting. It's due to be the timing, and determinations on how this would be handled in the future will have to be determined through negotiations. Because it's paid holidays are listed in those labor agreements and contracts. So that would be my recommendation. And it's officially, I don't have the authority to make that decision. That would have to be board action. So that is all I have to report on tonight.
Questions for Superintendent Colness? Again, we'll add the Juneteenth to the agenda, so we'll be able to discuss that at that time. But any other questions for his report? Okay, so moving on, let's move to nothing from Director of Teaching and Learning tonight. Principals, it looks like Melissa, you got a summer learning program update for us?
Good evening. I just want to give you a brief update on what our summer programming looks like for the K-5. So we have 150 students enrolled in our first session because we broke it into 2 sessions this year. Our first session actually began today. We're June 12th through June 22nd. And then our second session is July 31st through August 10th. And we're going Monday through Thursday, 8 to noon. Our second session, we have 175 students enrolled. And those are the students that are not at grade level in our reading and math area. So that's our focus throughout the summer learning. We do have enrichment days. So we have NDSU extension that they actually came today for our 5th grade. And they're coming and doing lessons K-5, talking about agriculture in the Red River Valley. And then in the second session, our students will get to go to UMC and they'll be working on or focused on STEM focused lessons. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update, just kind of what we're doing. I'll have more information to share once it's over with to talk about our goals and, that we met those goals and where we were at after summer learning is over. Unless you have any questions.
Members, questions?
So we're gonna see like baseline and this is the progress.
Right. So today, a lot of our students were testing, just taking that baseline testing so that at the end of summer learning, that second session, then I can come back to you and show you that progress that they have made.
Is it the same like standard testing or whatever that they do like in elementary to find out where they are at the beginning of the year? That type, or is it different?
Well, so it just depends on the grade level and what they're focusing on. So, for example, our kindergarten and our first and second for reading, they are actually using the FastBridge as their baseline. We have Mrs. Sorensen and Mrs. Baki who are pushing in and testing those students one-on-one. So we'll have a true analysis of what they are doing. And then they'll test them again one-on-one at the very end of the second session. So both sessions, they build off of each other. So we do have some students that it just worked with schedules that they picked one session or the other. But I would say over 95% of our students really are coming to both sessions.
Good.
So it's working out really well.
How does the Juneteenth affect your curriculum?
Well, we can't have school. So the question is, whatever you decide, Will they get paid because they were contracted for that day? We're not having school. We only have school Tuesday through Thursday. So that's a question I've been asked. And I said, I don't have the answer yet. Or like our paras, our teaching staff.
I think
Right now, they know they won't be in session.
you'll be able to go back to them with somewhat of an answer tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, we're gonna talk about it up here and we'll.
But yeah, no, there won't be any school that day.
So how does it affect like the curriculum as far as the kids?
Well, they're gonna lose a
They're
day.
gonna lose a day.
They're gonna
That's how
lose a
we're-
day.
Okay.
Yes. I couldn't do Fridays. We don't do Fridays throughout the summer. So I just didn't think I would have the staffing.
Yep.
Students are at the lake as well, so that wasn't an option.
Other questions? Thanks, Melissa.
Okay, thank you.
Let's bump, we have no department heads. Let's go to community education. Diane, you got a summer wave program update for us?
Good evening. I just thought I'd give you an update on our numbers and how we're doing so far in Summer Wave. So we have 30 full-time Monday through Friday students, and we have 4 that come 3 days a week and 4 that come 2 days a week. So enrollment's 38. That's we're off to a good start. And I sent you a copy of what is our policy, kind of how we're going to operate things this summer. So you kind of know what we're doing. But the most important thing in that document I sent you is how we're going to document behaviors and how we're going to deal with that in our program with a verbal warning and then written warning so that we have kind of a little control over behaviors in our summer program, but off to a great start so far. We took the kids swimming last week. On Thursday, they walked over to Sherlock, and it's a nice walk, just a straight line from New Heights, and they had a great time. We were going to swim till 4:15, and they got tired. And the water was cold, I guess, but they wanted to come back a little early. But it's going really well. The kids are having fun. We're doing some crafts. They're doing some different things that they haven't done before. So it's a nice experience for them, and it's going really well. They're able to drop off at 7:30 in the morning and pick up as late as 6. So parents are really appreciating the program so far.
What was the cap? I can't remember what we talked.
There
about
wasn't a cap. It just had to do with staffing.
Okay.
I ran different numbers, scenarios of if we had this many. But we have to have one instructor for every 15 kids.
Okay.
And we're well within that, but we have 3 not full-time, but we have 3 leads and 3 helpers, and they have a varying schedule. Some work 7 hours, some work 5 hours, some work 6.5. So it's just whatever worked in their schedule. So
Okay.
it flows. Yep.
And did you already send that document? Cause I don't remember seeing it.
I shared, it's called Welcome to Summer Wave 2023. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry about that. I will make sure it gets shared out to you.
Did you have kids on the wait list or more people that were looking for placement?
We do not. We everyone that's called me, we've found a spot for. So we don't have a wait list. We have openings for everybody. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you're also able to have breakfast and lunch, correct?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
everything's at New Heights, so.
They're able to eat breakfast over at New Heights and lunch. And then we provide them a snack in the afternoon. So.
Any other questions, board members? Thank you, Diane. Lastly, let's move on to 4.4 committee reports. Superintendent Colons, we got a long-term facilities.
Yeah, and I would say that one right now, I think the only thing would be, we met before, but the recommendations coming forward tonight, that's why I put that on there, just about, it's basically the second tier of projects that we discussed during our long-term facilities maintenance committee meeting. I know that the policy committee would like to get together sometime. I would wait till after those new policies come out, so you have those. And the negotiations is gonna have to crank up here fairly soon, but whenever, the negotiations team is ready to go, because it's gonna take some planning and some time, so.
All right, let's move on to 5.0, the consent agenda. Does anyone want anything pulled? I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as uploaded into board book.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as uploaded signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 6.0 is opportunities for citizens to speak on items not in the agenda. I had done. Superintendent Colas.
I received no requests.
All right, let's move on to 7.0 to approve the agenda. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the agenda and add the following. 8.4 is going to be, we'll just call it Juneteenth. And then 8.5 is going to approve the interim superintendent's contract.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion on the agenda? All right, all those in favor of approving with those modifications signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.1 is to approve the district technology purchases. We talked about this last meeting and we'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of 300 Chromebooks.
I'll move to,
Fine.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion?
So the current ones, are they the 5-year, so every 5 years, everything is switched out? Is that how it goes?
Yes, so the third grade coming in.
Yeah.
Has a whole, they don't have. So the kid takes the Chromebook with them. So when they go from third grade to fourth grade, it goes with them to fourth grade.
Okay.
So the third grade voice gets replaced and I'll replace it again at fourth grade.
Oh, okay. And then what do we do with the old ones?
So right now they're at high school for spares. So if your breaks or whatnot, we hand that out to you as a spare.
Okay.
And we hope they last that long. I mean, some,
Because by the time
Yep.
we get them,
Right.
spare, they're under 60.
Right.
And their life expectancy is 5 years.
So, but like we buy, I was looking at it, we got the insurance with it, right? So
Yes, for 5 years.
for 5.
So after the 5th year,
Yeah.
if it breaks, then you have to either buy the parts or use them for parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Okay.
So we're just slowly getting into this. Is this our second year now that we've had, or is this the first actual full year?
It's our second year that we've had full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because before we started that, was it 6?
Yeah, we didn't start everybody.
Everybody didn't have it wasn't
Started it.
one-to-one
Yeah,
ratio at the
started
beginning.
And then
Yeah.
we've been filling in. And last year was our first year, we could actually cut it into 8th grade and then replace the 3rd grade. So this will be our second.
It allows everybody one-to-one.
Correct.
Is that what you said, Lindsay?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Any other questions on the Chromebooks? Licenses, warranties? All right, all those in favor of approving the technology purchase signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 is to approve the summer maintenance projects. So I'll entertain a motion from hopefully somebody from the facilities committee.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, questions or discussion?
I was wondering the sound panels for the lunch area and stuff.
That's the elementary schools get
Yeah,
Yeah.
extremely loud at lunchtime.
yeah,
Maybe Chad, I don't know if you have any.
That's been there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just. Is that more important than some of the other things like closing off the discovery area to make for like separate classrooms or things like that? I was just wondering on that aspect of it, like, 'cause when I was reading the list of improvements, yes, I realized the sound panels are important. But I also realized that there's other areas that were important too, so I was just wondering on that aspect of it. I don't know.
Mike or somebody from the
Well-
facilities committee want to address
Well,
that?
we worked together. We sat there, and discussed how they would rank at each building. And that was one of the top ones as, it floods into the rest of the school. So it's quite disturbing for those who aren't at lunch.
Mhm.
So if you're going to say, hey, one's more important than the other, then that is important for that particular school, yes.
Okay.
But are there others that are important? Yeah, if we could have it all, that'd be great. But,
Yeah.
but we have to pick and choose.
Kind of have to prioritize and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, it was decided that
the noise is so deafening and can trigger other behaviors. And that's the whole group. You know, and those other things are priority and
Mhm.
they will be addressed, but that was just kind of trying to pick our prioritize.
And some of them, some of the priorities, we can use LTFM funding and some of them we can't. So you have to be careful about, because that's
That
coming
one
right
we
out of Fund
Yep.
One.
That's
Yeah,
what, no.
So that might, dictate what decisions are made. And then the other thing would be, getting contractors lined up.
Mhm.
The sound panel, we know that we can get those done. So this right now would be the next phase, in the, LTFM,
Like
or
what you just-
facilities and updates.
Eric, was that's like maybe more special ed dollars versus LTMF?
Right.
Well, that was, I know Amanda brought that up in the meeting that,
Yeah,
that adding,
Right.
Repairing or bringing something back.
Okay.
so maybe comes from another bucket or whatnot, but
All right, any other questions on maintenance projects? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.3 is to approve the 23-24 fee schedules. It was brought forth as a discussion a couple of weeks
Yep.
ago and now it's attached within board books. So Superintendent Coleman, you got anything?
Yep,
there?
the fee, that schedule was, the recommendations were shared with you. We did do, we checked with other districts that are comparable. Some are a little smaller, some a little bigger. It's interesting to see what some of them charge. We're kind of right in the middle. I'd say Brian was here and Jill, and Scott Kolbrinski, we all worked on these together. So we felt that these were reasonable requests to raise them up. We do know we need to do something to increase more revenue. But if you put too much on the plate, parents and families, it's also stressful. So, the one though that's not in there would be driver's training. And Diane will be coming forward with that here probably later this summer because they need to have that fee for when school starts. But, they're still doing some research to make sure that we cash flow that program.
I will make a motion to accept the schedule as listed.
I'll second.
Any other questions on the 23-24 fee schedule? All those in favor of approving signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, 8.4. Okay. I'm going to, I'll make the motion to approve Juneteenth as recommended by superintendent and school admin. Make it simple.
I'll second.
All right, now let's have discussion.
Okay.
So the first thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna vote yes for this on the recommendation. I'm not happy with the state putting something on us that we're not budgeted for. So I mean, I want to make that known that they're throwing a regulation along with the other regulations on top of us that hasn't been budgeted. I think it's the right thing to do with the recommendation to pay those. It's a
So they would be paid.
state holiday. Yeah. So before I'll have Mike kind of follow up with his recommendation on here, but at least I just want that to be known that, it's not the holiday itself. The bottom line is I do take issue with the state throwing something at us when it's in the middle of a budgetary year. So I mean, that I need to go on the record of saying that, and I hope the rest of the board echoes my thoughts, because they continue to do things like this. That's going to affect all different sorts of things, going back to what the superintendent talked about, some of the legislative stuff that's coming on. If you guys get a chance to read that, I mean, you're going to pull out your hair on some of the things that are happening within the state. So I just wanted that to be known. Again, I certainly support it, and I'll leave that as my discussion point. Any other discussions or questions?
So just to clarify, so anyone who was contracted for that day would get paid. So anyone who's not currently working is not going to get paid. Okay.
Correct. They're not. So do we want to, maybe we need to adjust that.
Wanted to make sure it wasn't just all employees. It was just the specific ones that were going to get paid anyways.
And I'll read, it says, first of all, everything's closed, right?
Yep.
That's the first thing. Then second thing, all district meetings, programs, activities scheduled that day are canceled, so we'll have no activities. I know we got called from Aluma today because we host the North Star program, but our buildings are shut down. And then, due to the short nature of the short notice event, which we all talked about, staff who are normally scheduled to work on June 19th or have already been contracted to work on June 19th will receive this day off without impact to their leave or contract for this year only. And maybe we should put down that they would be compensated.
Yeah.
It would-
Yes,
that.
yeah.
And,
With
and-
pay
yep,
With the-
or with.
Yep.
Yeah, so Nancy, are you catching all that or? Okay, so we'll go, let's start over.
Start
So
over.
you have my motion and there was a, who was the second
I
time?
did.
Okay, so all district offices and facilities are gonna be closed on the 19th. No meetings, programs, activities, they're all canceled. Short notice event staff who are normally scheduled to work on the 19th have already been contracted to work. But will receive this day off without impact to their leave or contract for this year only and will also be paid for that day. I'd just like to, yeah, and I think on top of that, determinations on how this is be handled in future years, that doesn't, keep the motion at that, but I think it's fair to say that, this is a holiday now, so we're gonna have to address it.
Address contracts.
In the
After this one, whether there's
Yeah.
contracts that aren't currently up, we're gonna have to do an addendum.
Yep.
And the negotiation committee can
Yep.
get on top of that, but this,
Yep.
I think this is, in the short notice, this is the easiest thing to do, and we'll go from there. If
Yep.
everybody else, any other discussions on the Juneteenth holiday? Okay, all those in favor of approving, Juneteenth, motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.5 is interim superintendent contract, and I apologize. I just told Jason I'm trying to figure out, after some years, trying to figure out how to do this Google sharing, so I'm hoping everybody up here has a copy of, the signed contract, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve the negotiated contract, for interim superintendent.
I'll second.
Okay, now we can have questions or discussion. Okay, well, all those in favor of approving the contract for Brian signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. He's gonna, his contract begins on July 1. I have talked with him as the Superintendent Colness, before he leaves. They'll be in contact. I'll give them all Mike's contact information now that it's been approved by the board and they can work. Most likely he'll end up coming here prior to even his start date, so he can a little catch up, if you will, with both not only Superintendent Colness, but the other staff. But he'll be on board on the first. So.
Okay.
All right, let's move to, I think that was it. Now we move to 9.0, payment of claims and account. Got to pay the bills.
I'll move to approve checks 124,946 through 125,052 in the amount of $288,482.13, along with E&Ts of $1,019,019.61 for a total of $1,307,501.74.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion on the bills? All right, all those in favor of paying claims and accounts signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's move 10.0, board member comments. Eric, you got anything?
No, I think it's gonna be a busy summer and glad we made it through another successful year and excited to get to work with Brian. He's gonna be a good addition to the district.
Josh?
I don't really have anything. Maybe congratulations to Kayla Thompson. At the state golf meet this last weekend. She was oh, yeah.
Yeah, today, yep.
So I mean.
Yep.
One of the few that made it in the spring sports, the only one in the spring sports.
Lindsay?
I have nothing tonight, thanks.
Amanda? anything?
I was really heavy-hearted with some of the resignations today. I'm very sad to see one of the staff members leaving, and just wanted to say that she'll be missed within the district, for sure.
Lynn, you got anything?
No, I don't think I have anything tonight, just kind of second what you said and, welcoming Mr. Hackbarth and
Only thing
lots of things going on.
Only thing I have, just to say is, I know that there's probably some of our groups that are wondering out there with this team holiday that we just approved. We'll catch up with everybody. It may take some time, but we'll catch up. It's state law and we'll catch up. This is just, the quick fix that we made with the motion tonight, because it's happening within the week here, and we'll go from there. And negotiation committee will have to kind of sit down and see where we are in every contract. The ones that are open, we can throw that in, but the ones that aren't open, we're gonna have to add for the interim years. So other than that, appreciate everybody's hard work on, especially the negotiations committee on finding an interim. And our next meeting for the Board of Education scheduled for the 26th. In talking with Superintendent Colness, we most likely will have that meeting. There's some, we most likely will have that meeting. Now, with that being said, it's scheduled for 5:30. I think we can be flexible with that. It's summertime, so it'll be up to you guys. I'll reach out prior to that and see, you want to do a morning meeting, midday meeting, regular 5:30 meeting. So I think we can be flexible. So 12.0 is I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, anybody want to talk about it? All right, all those in favor of adjourning, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed?